G'day, friends and fans. Welcome to an interview with Simon Ward. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, author of the books The Boyhood Arcade, Power Games, and Into the Elves Mound. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. Simon is the author of A Time to Click and other books. Without further ado, I will introduce you to Simon. I'm having a senior moment, I think. Simon, please introduce yourself to the audience while I share out the link and let everybody on X know we're live.
We all know that senior moments grab us, David. So that's okay. I'm Simon Ward. I'm host of the Budding Author podcast, similar show to David's, of course, but author of the Awakening series. That's my joy. Sci-fi dramas, psychological thrillers, and sci-fi romance. That's been my sort of initial game. But I'm sort of doing a little bit of YA fiction as well. That's sort of that's moving on and consuming me, as they all do, don't they, David?
Absolutely. I think well, I'm not saying YA is dead. I think it's far from it, but I think we're not seeing what we could say a diversification.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when they said cowboy movies were dead, and then Clint Eastwood proved them wrong. They said,
yeah, I think it's all good. Someone said to me recently that sci-fi movies have been overdone, but I think that'll never be the case. I don't think.
No, you know what I think is the problem? I think Hollywood hates sci-fi, personally. You've seen how they've treated sci-fi over the years, where they've even long-running shows like Doctor Who, where they change the timetable, they change the cast. They when something's not popular, they don't care. They run sci-fi into the ground many times. And look what they did with the Red Dwarf series, and they run it into the ground. And yet, you know, when they run out of ideas, they dust it off, give it a bit of a spit, run it, make another 6 shows, and then throw it away again. You know, I mean,
and people love it. People sort of love have passion, don't they? Whovians and the Trekkie fans and that sort of thing. People love sci-fi series and that sort of thing. And that was part of my idea with my sci-fi series, the Awakening series. So it's something for people to grab hold of. It's the journey. And I did a lot of research about things that are going to happen in the future. Sort of not pure fiction, but some things that are actually in the makings and coming forward. So a lot of my research, particularly for Finding Love in 2045, which is the second in the series, but was actually my first, as it were. A lot of the stuff in that, some of it is starting to happen already. My vision was, it's called Finding Love in 2045, and my vision was that by 2045 these things would be happening. But here we are in 2024, and some of these things are starting to get very, very close already. So it's well on course. It's well on course. I think my biggest fear when I was writing the book is that things had started to happen before I could get it published.
Yeah, it was like that with Android. So I started coming up with a excuse to say that, oh, yes, they'd been banned. That's why they hadn't used them for so long. They've been banned.
And the thing is that the androids or robots, whatever you call them, they're becoming more and more lifelike. And
and of course, as most people don't realize, and I forget the name of the Indian company, but they actually said their development along AI would replace lawyers, judges, politicians.
Yeah.
Not because they reckon AI is better for non-physical labor than that way. People will always have something to do. If you only used AI for industry robots, you'd have a few wealthy people and the rest of the population would die off, and then society would just collapse because who's going to buy your product? That's actually a good idea. Replace the few, not the many.
But people thought that robots would replace the household tasks and as you say, the manual tasks, but they are replacing everything. They are replacing everything.
Yeah, they are. However, I have seen the robot made, and I think it's about $15,000, although it will definitely come down. And the thing is, well, women only got themselves to blame, pricing yourself out of the market. It's like everything else. You price yourself out of the market or refuse to participate, somebody will find a better product.
And the thing is, it's on the way, isn't it?
Yeah. If people don't want to be replaced in a job, they either have to find a way to cut costs or be better skilled or try to find enough society to say no. But you're not going to compete against robotics.
Robots don't take breaks. They don't take breaks. They don't complain.
They don't go on strike. They can be fixed easier. They're cheaper to fix often.
They're consistent. They don't sort of work hard in the morning and then slack off in the afternoon. They don't ask for the day off if there's a football match on.
Yeah, they don't have a headache.
They don't mourn if somebody they know passes. They just keep going.
I think it's Thailand where they actually already have robosexual brothels or something. But I think it was Thailand.
Yeah, well, you touched on something there in Finding Love in 2045. That is something that is starting to happen, and that's what I foresee.
I've seen it too. Yeah, I've seen it starting to happen in real life too. Where there's a Chinese company, Shino Love, I think it's called, where these robots are illegal in China. Now they're not very intelligent. They're barely intelligent, actually. They've only got basic conversation and responses. They can't do anything other than lie there. But I mean, for certain people, that's all they want. That release.
Well, I was going to talk about time to click, but in Finding Love in 2045, the idea of the house bot who does all your tasks around the house, and then there's another company that makes the sex bots effectively.
Yeah.
And one of the antagonists in the story combines the two to make a fully functioning sex bot that can do everything.
I'm not sure if it was Philip K. Dick, but I think it was, or Gibson, but they predicted that the majority of robots would be household robots, and that most people would become cybernetic basically. I think it was Gibson basically saying androids would force most people to become cybernetic, and most people would be bred in farms because there'd be because physical sex between robots,
Well, the Awakening series follows that journey from advancements in robotics to the fully functioning sex bot, and then the culmination of the series, Awakening in 2046, is when things start to come to a head and fight back. But as you can imagine, there's lots of relationships and relationship dramas sort of tied within that theme.
Sorry.
No, carry on. Go on.
I was just going to ask, when did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
I'm a bit late to it in some respects. I had stories in my head in my teens, but didn't really start to write short stories until adulthood, really. When I was working with BMW cars, I met somebody there, and I shared some of my short stories I'd been writing, and he told me about a short story competition he's entered. It was a Create 50 competition, and he'd won the competition, and he said, "Oh, you should enter the competition with some of your short stories." And I thought, excellent, that'd be a way to delve into my sci-fi world. But the next competition was Twisted, and what they're looking for was the most twisted, horrific short story you could possibly think of in the horror element. and that wasn't my genre at all. But
No.
I wrote a story, and they said if it doesn't disturb you to write it, it's probably not going to be good enough. So
Yeah, the problem is with disturbing writing, you could go too dark.
well,
I
I wrote this short story. I wrote this short story, and I had amazing feedback from the community. The book was selected for the final selection process. I received a contract saying that I wouldn't be able to do anything else with the book after it's sort of to extend the story for 2 years. So I sort of went into that contract negotiation for that, and I thought it was going to make the final draft, but actually it didn't actually make the final draft. But I had so much great feedback from it that I thought writing is for me. I'd got some sci-fi stuff in mind, and that's where Finding Love in 2045 came about. And Finding Love in 2045 and Awoken in 2046, that is my sci-fi story. Sort of, I couldn't fit it into one book, I had to split it. And one of the characters from that, Time to Click, is the prequel. So it's a guy who gets involved and is involved in the story in the next 2 books. So it's his story of how he meets up with his eventual love as such. But he goes through a lot of trouble, and the short story, the twisted short story I'd written, plays a part in Time to Click. So the short story sort of expanded both ways from the original Time to Click story. And
tell us more about Time to Click.
Well, Time to Click, it starts, obviously there's the horror element, but the story starts in media res. The guy is in a ditch, left for dead, in a deep ditch, left for dead, and realizes that his manhood has been chopped off. Somebody's chopped his dick off. So he wakes up in this environment. He's bound and tied and that sort of stuff, and he needs to first of all find his way out of a ditch. There's another guy in there whose skin and bones is deceased and sort of rotting, and so getting out of the ditch is his first challenge. He does get out of the ditch, because that would be a very short story if he didn't.
Yeah.
So then he sets about an adventure, and because of his ordeal, he has memory loss. So he doesn't know where he's come from. So he stumbles on people to try and help him, which sort of puts him at risk again. The people that almost killed him come back to finish the job. And so that's another dramatic sort of psychological thriller element. Eventually he breaks free from that and starts to create a life for himself. That's when we sort of start getting some sci-fi elements, when he's working for a technology company. But just when he thinks everything's going to be fine for him, his previous attackers, he finds out where they are, and in a much stronger position, he has the dilemma of whether to just report them to the police and get himself implicated, and obviously the story of him losing his manhood would come out with that, or whether he seeks revenge, to sort of the ultimate revenge, effectively. So that's the psychological sort of mental sort of decision he needs to make. So the story is full of how can I put this? The story is full of action. I do write very fast paced, so I'm not into sort of very flowery writing. My writing is sort of fast paced, and so there's lots going on and lots of action, which is fun. That's what I like to read, and I think people like it. I've had some very positive reviews so far. It is fairly early in its journey. Finding Love in 2045 was my first, and that went very well. So Time to Click is trying to catch up with it now as such.
What do you do to prepare for a new book?
I have lots of ideas in my head. I've probably got 10, 15 stories that I want to write, and sometimes it's about time to be able to sit down and write them. So it's an initial idea, and the meaning behind the idea is sometimes key. 'Cause not every book needs to have a message, but I think it's good to have an underlying message, however sort of faint. So that from that point, I'll then sort of park the idea, and then when I have more time, I'll look at my options of what ideas, and then I'll sort of research a little bit more detail into it, and then when I plump for it, I'll get writing my first draft. But more and more now, I'm starting to plan and plot more. For the new series I'm working on, I've sort of plotted it in more detail. I know what's going to happen in each chapter effectively. But of course, once the characters take over, it does sort of take a whole new world.
Yeah, first casualty of war is the plan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What inspires you to write?
I think a lot of it I think I have a very active imagination. And as I mentioned, the guy from BMW, he inspired me to sort of start getting it printed and start going into full flow with it. So he's sort of my inspiration, Andrew Williamson, and that's good. And then a couple of authors I've sort of really got into has sort of helped me as well, I think. Writing is, I think, for many authors, I think you just feel like you need to write. I'm feeling the need to get those stories out there, and obviously the more people that read them, the better. But it's just stories within me that I want to tell. That's
yeah. I know what it is. I know what it's like. I write because I want to write. The rest is, I mean, the validation is good. People telling me I'm good is fine. But if I had $1, if I had $1 a month from everybody who told me my book was fine, I'd make a living off the Patreon.
yeah, but similar here. I think sales of Finding Love in 2045 were very good. Time to Click is newer, and it's sort of a separate world, really. So some readers sort of saying that you need to read the others first, but it is a standalone book and a good way to start the series. I think for guys that are reading, perhaps Time to Click is the best place to start. For women that are reading, perhaps Finding Love in 2045 is the best way to start, and Time to Click for the guys. I think I said that right. Yeah.
You know, they've lowered the average. They've lowered the average again.
What's the average of what?
The average author, 10 books, 100 sales, with the bestseller being 6,000 in a week.
Well, I'm doing good on the first one, not so good on the other.
Yeah. I thought, geez, there's so many books out there. I thought, oh, what's going on, you know? But I thought the number of books meant that there was more people reading, not less. You know,
Yeah.
finding out that only 17% of people in the world read more than one book. I mean, not after high school, they're talking about, you know.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's sad. It's sad.
I think a lot of it, the attention span of people is perhaps less and less over the years. I think that's why I think with my writing is similar to when I'm reading. If a book doesn't grab me straight away and it's not fast paced, I'll lose. I won't finish it. That's why all my writing is fast paced. It needs to grab the attention. I'm particularly pleased with Awakening 2046, which is the final episode, the final book in the series. I've had some interest from a film producer, so I've converted it to a script, for Awoken. So that's possibly going to sort of take me on a trajectory into the sky, perhaps. But you never know. It's one
Amazing,
of those things.
because
Could happen, could not happen. It's one of those things, but it's fun. It's fun to get that level of interest, isn't it? It's fun to get that level.
it is. Unfortunately, sometimes things fall through, but I'm hoping it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm hoping you get it, because it's good to actually know somebody who got a break. If you don't have a break, it's great to know that somebody did.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's all a journey, isn't it? And I think you've got to enjoy the process. I think, as we say with writers, we enjoy writing, we enjoy publishing our stories.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody came to me and said, "You're not going to be successful, put that pen down," I wouldn't.
The thing is,
change a thing.
I enjoy people reading my books, but my pleasure is from writing the books and publishing the books. I'm not seeking validation. I don't need to be selling 1,000 a week to be happy. I'm happy that I've written my book and I've published my book. That's where my pleasure comes from.
Do you have a favorite writer or book?
Ben Elton would probably be one of my favorites. I think,
So Ben,
yeah, James Patterson is obviously one that's out there, but Ben Elton, I liked the way his vision of the future and the way he writes in a very easy to read style. Blind Faith was my favorite. Gridlock and Stark as well. Good books to read. Like that. Ellie Kennedy or Elle Kennedy, The Deal. That's an interesting sort of romantic drama. So I liked her style as well. I thought that was good.
So what's your current project?
I'm just starting to release the first episode of The Life of Billy Spark. It's a 8-episode series. It's essentially based on 8 30-minute episodes, so they are quite quick reads. And The Life of Billy Spark, his life has been foretold in leather-bound book form. And so his dad has this book which tells him exactly what his whole life's going to be for Billy.
So you're around 35 to 40 pages.
35 to 40 pages.
30-minute script.
Oh no, it's not scripted. It's not scripted. This is a story. Yeah,
it's the story. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So his dad sees something that is going to be happening that he knows Billy would regret, and was very hard for him. So he persuades Billy to deviate from his foretold path. And when he does that, the book, the print in the book disappears and starts to repopulate itself with a more sinister future. So then they need to try and put things right. They need to try and put things right to get his life back on track again. And in each episode, they try to, at the end of each episode, they try to get rid of the book, try to destroy the book. So they try different ways of getting rid of the book, but the book keeps reappearing. So that's and the stories takes him from 17 to 25. That's series 1, and I have in my head I have series 2 and series 3. So this could run and run. Obviously depends on the success, but I shall definitely complete the first series and see how things go with that. I will also be looking for TV representation for that, sort of Netflix and Amazon Prime perhaps, because it is perhaps more suited for TV. But it's a good quick read. You can get the first episode now. Episode 2 is probably about 3 or 4 weeks away. Just going through final editing and proofreading on that. And I also have another project, The Healer. That is that's one. I've done the first draft of that. I've done a stage of editing, but I've got a lot more editing to do on that. That's another YA novel. That's story of a guy who's struggled with health for all his life, and by a strange situation, is given the power of healing, so he can then heal people. And when he heals people, it actually makes him healthier and stronger as well. So that's another element. But the Billy Spark one is about fate and destiny. Is the message? You can choose your fate and your destiny, despite the book saying you can't, as it were. The life book, of course. Yeah.
What advice would you give new writers?
I think get going and start writing is the first one. But there's a lot of advice out there for writers. So shows like this, shows like my Budding Author podcast. On the Budding Author podcast, we talk to experienced authors about their journey. So we get sort of tips and advice coming on there. On YouTube as well, there's lots of writers on there with great advice. So get advice and get writing, and then seek validation. There's get other people to check your work, whether that is through Scriberfile is one. It's or your own writing groups, but getting your partner or your mom to check your work is probably not the best way to go. But if that's all you've got available to you, and you've also got on Microsoft Word, you can have read aloud, so that really helps when you've sort of done your first stage of editing. Go on read aloud and listen to it, and you'll be amazed how many things you've missed when you go through that. And do that before you send out that for beta readers and that sort of thing. So yeah, that would be but as I say, I've picked up so many ideas and so much advice, so much great advice on the Budding Author podcast. It's the show effectively was for me. I wanted to widen my network and get some advice, and the best way to do that is to talk to experienced authors. So the show's for me really, but I'm sharing it obviously on YouTube with everybody.
Same, and I do writing tips. I divided my time like between. I spent the first couple of days of each month on my RPG material. Then I do my writing. Then I edit old material. I'm editing all the time. You know, half the month I'm spending editing. I know in the last 20 years from people I spoke to and seeing how much editing, you know, is just going up and up in price. I mean, I think one of the things
can be expensive, can't it, Dave?
Yeah, like it's gone from like 1,000, a few hundred to a few thousand, in 20 years. And I know they justify it by saying, yes, but look what you could earn. Yes, but that's not the average of what people earn.
Yeah, difficult.
And it's an overloaded market as well with, overloaded market. And there's a lot of bad editors out there.
Yeah, well, a lot of books I read, I'm amazed how many errors are in there. These like traditionally published books, and there's so many errors in there. So that's
it's not just so much errors of spelling. Most people get the spelling, and most spell checkers are perfect. It's not even the grammar, it's the structure. How many books have bad structure or poorly organized? It's like I sometimes make the mistakes too. Like I think for dramatic purposes, I'll briefly introduce a character and describe them later, and people say, no, you just do it when they do it every time they're introduced. So, sometimes you make a style choice, but and then you get backlash.
Yeah, I don't always describe my characters in great detail.
No, I when they become
important sometimes.
Yeah, when they become important, I do it. But sometimes, I just got. I think I'm a more flowery traditionalist with fantasy, with the fantasy elements and the descriptions.
Yeah.
But it's always to people's taste, isn't it? There's like,
Yeah,
there's
that's it.
people
I think
who write,
at times I'll sort of write something more flowery, and at times not. It's when the action is flowing, you need to sort of be direct and quick.
short. Yeah,
And
short to the point. Yeah.
you don't want to pull people out of the story. You want to just keep it going.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people say writing is stressful, and that I find it can be. And how do you deal with the stress? If
I
any?
don't get stressed by writing.
No, that's good.
Stressed. I don't get stressed. I enjoy the process. I think maybe the only thing perhaps I get busy with lots of different things. So if I'm in the middle of writing a first draft, and I've not managed to get back to it because of other things for a few days, I will get a bit sort of anxious sort of thing. I will sort of want to get back to it and finish it. But I don't really get stressed by stuff. I'm quite relaxed, quite confident, and I don't get majorly stressed. There's lots of things to get stressed over, but writing books should not be something you should be stressed on.
What do you like to do when you're not writing?
I have another show. Any football fans watching? Warsaw Football Club in the English Football League 2. That is my alter ego, if you like. I run the fan channel, Warsaw Fan TV. The mantra of the channel, the joy and the pain, is the constant one, and that does take a lot of my time. That's perhaps gets stressful, but that's more down to the football, really. I think it's frustrating, but yeah, I enjoy that. Aside from that, I enjoy walks and nature, looking at birds of prey and things like that. I enjoy that, and enjoy reading and watching films and stuff. So yeah, it's all good.
Thank you for coming, Simon. Any last words before we go?
What I would say is have a look at Time to Click. I'd love to know what you guys think, and see whether you enjoy my stories or not. And obviously, if you like this show, the Budding Author podcast is something you could also have a look at. Great for, as the title suggests, for budding authors, people who want to improve and get better at writing. Listening to those experienced authors is great. It's helping me, and it's helped you guys as well, I'm sure. Yeah. So, and YA fiction, that's a nice, easy one you could get. The Life of Billy Spark, first episode of that is available now on Amazon, so you can have a look at that and tell me what you think of it. I'd just love to get feedback from readers. Really, that's good. But thanks for having us on, Dave. It's been really good. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody, for coming. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. The Spot channel, check out links in the description below. Simon's book, A Time to Kill, is linked, including the link to his trilogy. You can search his name to add his on Twitter. I included the post his Twitter handle so you can find it, because they don't let you have descriptions. But if you could all please make a donation, become a member of my Patreon, buy my merch, buy my books, please and thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye for now.